Oh my god, okay, it's happening. As they say, I am trying not to freak out, but this is the big one. We have a ton of stuff to go over. I'm going to be going through this video step by step through all of these announcements that came out. We have a ton to break down, including some leaks before this event was officially announced about Xenoverse 3, as well as some other things like a Dragon Ball Super movie, which may get confirmed at this event. So I went ahead and decided to start this video off with just this simple tweet just to lay out the format of how we're going to be breaking this down. So this event was confirmed Genki Damatsuri. This is from DBS Hype, where he says a new Dragon Ball game officially announced, will be officially announced there. 2 new major projects will be announced. Guests Masako Nozawa and Akio Iyoku. And a Kageyama live performance is also confirmed. And then he says we are so effing back. So this is substantial stuff, but if you're a casual person watching this video and you're like, wait, what's going on? Is this real? Where's this confirmation coming from? Let's get into the full timeline. So, this tweet was deleted from this person named TokeEI3N, and apparently they were probably making it up because they said that there's a Dragon Ball Super movie in development. However, Vinixis, who has been getting a bit more of a I'll go ahead and leave a follow. I don't know why I was following, but they've been getting a bit more of a following online. They've been a pretty reliable reporter for the most part from everything I can see. So they are throwing their hat in the ring of, I guess, rumors / speculation / leaking. They said before the news spreads, there have been rumors for a while about a new 3D Dragon Ball movie. However, even though I can't confirm that, I can confirm that you shouldn't trust this person regarding this news, even if it later turns out there really is a super movie. Then they followed up with, that's all I can say for now. So, that's a little bit of a open thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not outright saying that he doesn't think a new 3D Dragon Ball movie is out. It sounds like what he's implying is somebody told him, but even though somebody told him, he doesn't want to just outright say it's coming because he probably can't second source it or something like that. Then Epic Epicson 1, who is a fun Dragon Ball, mainly talks about Dragon Ball on Twitter. I went ahead and took his tweet here because he actually compiled some information. So the official Dragon Ball anime account changed their name from DB_Super 2015 to DB_anime_info. As you can see here, it's no longer just a Dragon Ball Super Twitter account. It now says Anime Info because they were using it to advertise Dragon Ball Daima anyway. Now, he also says sudden rumors from news outlets about a DBS movie hours before this happened. So he's talking about what we just talked about. Iyoku also did say that Daima wasn't the real 40th anniversary project. So maybe, and that's true. He said here, it wasn't made specifically for the anniversary, but I'm really glad that it ended up coinciding with it. So there you go. So it's not technically the 40th anniversary project. Okay, so what does all this mean? Number one, this being changed means they are doing stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that Dragon Ball Super is never going to return. This means that they are actively engaging with the content because they are going into the accounts and changing them around. This was all yesterday at 12:03 p.m. October 15th. Which, I know I said that's yesterday, but as I'm recording it, it's the 17th, but you know what I'm saying, like, roughly, like a day or within, like, over a day since then, right? And, of course, this is going off of Japanese time, so it might be a day for them. All right, and then we have another big thing before this whole event was announced, coming from Clifford. So, we'll get into Vinix's statement in a second, but Clifford, who is Louis M., this is the person that got the information from Victor Uchida at an event that Dragon Ball Super, the manga, was not returning this year. So then he says, info on Xenoverse 3 that I obtained from a reliable source in Japan and can now share. So keep in mind, I think this is Clifford just now getting into the whole rumor leaking game from what I'm understanding. He says he has a reliable source. Take this with a grain of salt. We're not sure if this will end up being reliable, but we'll see. I want to, give some grace to him because he's seemed pretty honest and straightforward. So we'll go ahead and read into this, which is interesting that he started talking about this before this official event was announced. So I guess that does lend it some credence. So he says it's well in development. Numerous delays and some aspects have been completely redone from scratch. Graphically very beautiful. A playable version exists, and the release will be sometime in 2027 or 2028. And then Vinixis, who again had talked about the Dragon Ball Super movie, says, rumor reached me some time ago as well. I can't confirm it personally, but that's what several people from France are saying. So again, throwing his hat into the leaking / rumor / speculation game, but not directly because he's saying he can't confirm it. All right, so that's the timeline of stuff. So we have a new video game being, I guess you could say, leaked or teased or something within 24 hours before the announcement of the event. Same thing with the new movie, right? Both of these things coming from Vinixis, who I guess didn't originate the tweets, but he's kind of throwing his hat in the ring, right? So this doesn't necessarily all hinge on Vinixis, but I just think it's interesting that he has something to do with both things, right? So all that happens, and then bam, we get this tweet from the official Dragon Ball anime account. So keep in mind, with this coming from the official Dragon Ball anime account, that already makes you think that there's going to be some anime announcements, right? So we'll just go ahead and read through what they say here. They said, all the latest content of Dragon Ball comes together in a grand gathering. All the latest content of Dragon Ball. Keep that in mind. That's very important. The Dragon Ball Genki Dama Festival is set to take place. A spectacular talk stage featuring Masako Nozawa, the voice of Son Goku, with major new announcements. So, she has mainly appeared for big anime events, like the Dragon Ball Super Superhero movie or the Dragon Ball Daima anime. They basically only bring her out for those things. I don't think she's been directly involved with a big event for video games, but even if she was here for a video game, that still doesn't disprove what we're going to get into, because as DBS Hype said, there are 2 new major projects and a Dragon Ball game, so we'll get into that. So here's some information about the event date and time. It'll be January 25th, 2026. The venue will be Makuhari Messi International Exhibition Hall, Halls 9-11. All right, and then a link to the website. So before we go to the website and break down the whole schedule, Dragon Ball Games just went ahead and outright confirmed, yes, a new Dragon Ball game project will be unveiled this January during the Dragon Ball Genki Dama Matsuri event. No, wait. Genki Dama Matsuri. Okay, there we go. Japanese, I don't know how to read it. I struggle with it, obviously, but there you go. Genki Dama Matsuri. Okay. So yeah, they just outright confirm a new Dragon Ball project will be unveiled this January at this event. And this is still unrelated to these 2 other projects we're going to get into, but real quick, I want to talk about this. Who knows what this new Dragon Ball game is? It's a brand new Dragon Ball game project, so it's not like a DLC or anything. They have a whole panel to reveal the game. But I thought it was interesting, and the reason why I mentioned this Xenoverse 3 rumor is that it's kind of compelling stuff, right? I mean, less than 24 hours before the official event was announced, they had some information from a reliable source in Japan, and they can now share it just 1 day before this event was announced. So they did say something regarding this. So they said graphically the game would adopt a cell shading style, and again, this was after the event was announced. So Clifford is making this tweet after the event was announced. Some clarifications. Graphically, the game would adopt a cell shading style to be confirmed. Regarding the release, we would be looking at late 2027 or even 2028. And then this is his speculation. In my opinion, it's too early for us to have an announcement at Genki Damatsuri or the game's Battle Hour. So that's speculation. I'm not sure how much you should take this as fact, because they've announced games and then not show you anything for like a year before. I mean, if you remember Sparking Zero, they announced it and then we didn't hear anything about it for quite a while. And then we started getting into the marketing hype cycle. So I think there's a possibility that we could be getting Xenoverse 3 if it is official. Again, that's if it is official. So let's get back into this here. So yeah, most likely going to be Xenoverse 3 based off this rumor. It could not be though. Like I said, it's very much left open. But I did want to lend this I wanted to lend some credibility to this because it's just way too coincidental and way too weird how this lined up with the timeline. All right, so with all that being said, let's get into this big information. So let's go ahead and visit the actual website where they're advertising this, and we can break down the schedule. So on the graphic teasing this event, you can see it says Dragon Ball 40th Anniversary. So this is where we're going to be getting the official Dragon Ball 40th Anniversary stuff. This is not the Dragon Ball Daima stuff. Keep that in mind. Dragon Ball Daima originally was not conceived as the anime celebrating the 40th anniversary. That may be announced here. Alright, so again, it just goes over stuff we already heard about. This is translated from Japanese. I don't think it translates like these because it's images, but it does translate the actual text on the website. So it says, the event will be held to mark the climax of Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary. A huge gathering of new developments and the latest content. We will also be selling pre-sale items. Event information will be released as it becomes available. Then they have ticket information. I'm not going to this, obviously. This is like in Japan, and this is a... But I think it might be... I don't see anything about it being streamed online. So I guess we'll just have to rely on on-the-ground reporting from the event. And the map isn't out yet. Okay, so here's the stage. This is the big stuff. So, new development, super announcement. Genki Dama stage panel stage part 1. Okay, that's big. That is major. So, they're not saying Dragon Ball Super is returning necessarily. I mean, let's be real. If it was a Dragon Ball Super announcement, then them putting it in the name would be giving a little bit too much away. They've done this before, where they advertise something as like a big super panel or something like that. They're just kind of establishing that it's not minor news. This is big news. So it's just kind of an unfortunate naming thing that it's also named after Dragon Ball Super. However, like I said, there have been rumors of a new 3D Dragon Ball movie now. That it could be called Dragon Ball Super. Again, there's a lot of legal drama behind the scenes about if they're allowed to use Dragon Ball Super or not, and many people think that's why they went with Dragon Ball Daima, because of the copyright situation with Shueisha. But it's been a few years. That could have been resolved, and we could be getting a Dragon Ball Super movie. Or maybe there's some weird thing going on where the Dragon Ball Super rights are a little weird, where you can't make an anime series but you can make a movie. Or it could be an anime series and they got everything resolved and we're getting a Dragon Ball Super anime. But the interesting thing is after this Dragon Ball Super, or not Dragon Ball Super, but this new development Super announcement part 1 panel, we get a new stage game announcement, and then we get another new Super announcement. It says Stage Part 2, Genki Da, Stage Part 2. Now, some people, not a lot of people, but some people online were thinking, you know, because you get the doomers and you get the people who doubt, you get the doubters, and they're like, no, we're not getting into anime. This is probably just for the games, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's mainly what I wanted to talk about here in this video, because they said, after the main event, we get Dokkan Battle, Legends, and Genshin Squadra. So Fighters isn't here. I think Fighters information, that will probably be at the Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour, because that's around the time the Super Saiyan 4 Goku Daima releases. So I'm assuming that's where you're going to get your Dragon Ball Fighters revival, if there is one. So we get a video game panel with the mobile games, Dokkan Battle, Legends, and Genshin Squadra. And then we get a Fusion World and Super Divers stage. And then we get Weekly Dragon Ball News Special Edition. And then a special live stage with Hironobu Kageyama. So again, big icon in the Dragon Ball fan base. And the Dragon Ball, not fan base, but, you know, just Dragon Ball overall, being like an iconic singer for the franchise. So If you look at the speakers for these two big events, these super announcement events, it's Masaku Nozawa and Akio Ioku. Some people say Akio, some people say Akio. Again, I'm not a native Japanese speaker, so apologies if I do mispronounce it from time to time. And then for part 2, it's still Masaku Nozawa and Akio Ioku. So, what do I think about all of this? Well, I think we'll probably getting the announcement, maybe not the announcement of Vegeta Super Saiyan 4 in the Dragon Ball event, because it did leak. As you can see here, DB Game News leaked. Well, he didn't leak it himself, but it was in the patch notes. They accidentally put Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta in there. So, he is coming to the game. We don't know at what point he will be coming to the game, right? This could be around that time, because we could see, like, maybe not a reveal there, because there's only like one more character to release in Genshin Squadra, and I think that would probably be for November. And then they probably release a new trailer for December. And then this event is in January. So in January, for the Genshin Squadra stage, that's probably where we're going to be seeing a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta gameplay reveal, or something like that, if I had to guess. So that's speculation there, right? Legends, Dokkan Battle, you know what to expect with those games, right? But the interesting thing is that all of the Dragon Ball games have just basically been trying to reuse the same characters in new ways, and it's getting very stale, and all of the games are not gaining profit. They're like basically they're slowly declining, because there's nothing driving engagement. There's nothing at the root pushing things in one direction, adding exciting new content. We had Dragon Ball Daima, and that was definitely a big surge, right? But now it's like, okay, where's all the new stuff? So there comes a time where you do have to do new stuff, and hopefully behind the scenes they figure that out, right? So like DBS Hype says, 2 new major projects will be announced. What do I think those 2 new major projects are? Again, we've talked about how it can't be video games, because all this stuff here is the video games, right? And then Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour is probably where you're going to get your Dragon Ball Fighter stuff. And then, of course, the new video game actually has its own panel, right? So, this big event right here and this big event right here, they're 2 separate projects from how I'm reading this and how everybody else is understanding this. 2 separate projects. This first one will be talked about for about 45 minutes, so it's probably definitely further along. The second one will be talked about for 30 minutes, so probably not as far along. Now, there have been rumors of a new Dragon Ball Super movie for a while. Whether it ends up using the name Super or not is up in the air. So I think this first announcement could be a Dragon Ball movie, whether it's a Dragon Ball Super movie or whatever, right? Now, I don't think it would be adapting the Moro saga or the Moro arc, because that's something that's a little bit more longer and drawn out. However, they have been doing anime movies where they just adapt the manga arcs for the movies. I'm not a fan of that personally. I would just prefer it to be like it always has been, just adapt the manga arc into a series. But I don't want to completely discount that as like not even a possibility, because it has been shown to be a real possibility and to make money. So I guess you could make the argument that the rumored Dragon Ball Super movie could be adapting Moro because of it being a success, but who knows on that front, because all that stuff has just been happening recently with the success of the Demon Slayer movies. So who knows if that could be real, but I do think it's a strong possibility. I mean, let's be honest, with Masaku Nozawa here and Akio Ioku here, Akio Ioku already teased that they're working on the next thing after Dragon Ball Daima. It probably is an anime or a movie, probably both. So I think this first one is probably a movie, and then this next one is probably an anime. Now, this is some tinfoil hat stuff here, but Kageyama singing the original song Chala, He Chala, which is amazing, right? Maybe he's here at the event because it's the 40th anniversary, obviously, but what would you do for the 40th anniversary? A Dragon Ball remake. Now, that would be an anime series, ideally, in my mind. But here's the thing. I'm not sure how likely that is. We could be getting Dragon Ball Daima Season 2. We could be getting the return of Dragon Ball Super, the anime, right? Theoretically. Who knows exactly, because this is all so far out. But It's the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. People have been asking for a remake for a long, long time. And the technology is there to where I think it would not necessarily be necessary to where you would think that, like, I'm not saying like the original Dragon Ball Z sucks or anything, right? Or Dragon Ball. But the technology is there, the demand is there. Dragon Ball Daima and Dragon Ball Super Superhero and Dragon Ball Super, they reanimate certain parts of Dragon Ball Z often. And you're like, wow, this would be awesome to be remade. Because there's certain stuff that they didn't do, there's certain things they could change, there's certain iconic panels from the manga that whenever they adapted it to the anime, they kind of butchered it a little bit. So I think what I personally want to see is a Dragon Ball Z remake. Now, with that in mind, I'm not sure if that's what they would be going for in terms of the anime announcement. It could be Dragon Ball Daima Season 2, if that is even in the cards. Or it could be Dragon Ball Super Season 2, if you want to call it a Season 2. Or it could be some other third thing, or fourth thing, I guess, because the Dragon Ball Z remake, Daima, and Super are three possibilities. But it could be a secret fourth thing. Like, what if it's not Super, because Super is specifically for the time frame between the Buu Saga and the end of Z, right? So what if it's like some new series where they're going past the end of Z, and they're exploring more the GT time frame, but not GT, if that makes sense. So they wouldn't be redoing GT, it would be like a whole new story. So that's what I think it could be, because what's funny is we've got rumors of a Xenoverse 3 before the event. We got rumors of a DBS movie before the event, but we don't have rumors of an anime. There were rumors in 2019 of a Dragon Ball Super anime return, but I'm not sure if that applies here, obviously. So I think the more realistic possibility for this movie is it's probably using the Super branding just like all the movies have been, right? Hopefully the copyright situation behind the scenes has resolved, and if it hasn't, then it probably doesn't need to be resolved for them to make a Super movie. A new video game, and then a new anime. Most likely, because I don't see them doing two movies, but I could see them announcing a movie and an anime. That's honestly what I'm expecting. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. Again, like I said, we went for 22 minutes. You kind of have to speculate for something like this because there's so much to talk about. And I didn't want this whole video to be all speculation. That's why I included some reliable sources and some people reporting on things and things like that to kind of guide where the conversation went. So we could be seeing Xenoverse 3 revealed here, or it could be some other game that isn't Xenoverse 3. We could be seeing a Dragon Ball Super movie revealed here, or it could be something that is not the Dragon Ball Super movie. But one thing we do know for sure is there are two big projects coming announced by Masako Nozawa and Akio Iyoku. They mainly appear as a duo when it comes to anime projects. And we know that Masako Nozawa is not there to promote promote any video games, because the video games that's coming out has its own panel, and she and Akio Iyoku are not speakers for that panel. So whatever video game is being announced, you'll probably see the developers of the video game talking for it. So with all that said, 23 minutes into the video, I'm finally going to say it. And it's been a bit of a meme, but we are so back. We are so back. I went through all the evidence. I showed you all the rumors and speculation. Then this announcement comes out of nowhere. And they're talking about a big Super panel. Again, not the Super anime, but like a substantial panel is what they mean. Like this isn't something you want to skip out on. This is big. And then they have Goku represented across Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and Dragon Ball Daima. So no GT. Like I said, this is Toriyama canon here. Everything he was involved with deeply. If you're confused about the Toriyama canon, I made a video talking about it. This is for the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. If you hear some shakiness in my voice, it's because I don't want to say like I'm emotional or I'm going to start crying or whatever, but this is... Let's not lie. And again, I'm going to get a little bit ranty here before the end of the video, but let's not lie. Dragon Ball has been in a bit of a rough spot this past year. Some people would argue it's been in a bit of a rough spot since the Super Anime came out, or Daima, or whatever. Point is, Akira Toriyama passed away, and the fandom, the community, we all gravitate toward Dragon Ball for our own reasons, and the idea of it dying or going away is kind of understandable, but at the same time, Toriyama showed no signs that he was hanging it up. He was still continuing to build things. He was excited to build things. He was working with Toyotaro and Akio Yoku, and they were building things and doing new stuff. And I don't some fans are saying that they want Dragon Ball to end and it should die with its creator. I'm not sure about that necessarily. I understand where those people are coming from, but in my mind, at the very, very least, you could finish the stories he had in development, and you even have room to create new stories that are in line with his original vision. Especially, that's another thing, the Dragon Ball Super manga I didn't even talk about, but there's no word on the Dragon Ball Super manga for this event. So maybe one of the announcements are the Dragon Ball Super manga returning. Who knows? Maybe not, but maybe it is. But this is substantial. This is not minor stuff, and it just feels nice to be back, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It feels nice to make a video about the anime, the movies, the big stuff that the larger community loves and we all get excited about. So I didn't mean to get a little bit emotional, not too emotional, but yeah, it's just exciting is what I'm trying to say. This is exciting times to be a Dragon Ball fan. And I guess I guess what I'm struggling to find the words for are the fact that Toriyama died and we all thought this thing was over. We thought we'd be getting Dragon Ball Daima and that was it. Then this copyright battle comes out and everything is looking down and nobody knows what the future is. And then boom, out of nowhere, they have these rumors and leaks coming out. And then we have this official announcement of the event. It just feels, maybe the word is cathartic. I don't know. Somebody asked me a while back, would I still be covering Dragon Ball Daima or Dragon Ball on the channel because things are going down, things are taking a downward swing, and things are trending downwards, and I said no. I'm keeping it a pure Dragon Ball channel. I'm in for the long haul. I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I was making videos about Dragon Ball for years and years and years. I wasn't making them as much as I am now, obviously. But if you've been a long-time follower of the channel, within the last couple years, I started making more and more and more Dragon Ball videos, and I've been finding a new passion for it. And then everything happened that happened, and I'm like, no, I'm in it for the long haul. This is my favorite series. It has so much that is so unique to it, and there are other things I would like to talk about that I might make other channels for, but the Toon Raider channel is a Dragon Ball channel, and it's gonna stay a Dragon Ball channel. So yeah, I'll get off my soapbox here. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, exciting stuff coming in the Dragon Ball universe. Be sure to keep an eye out for this event. I will be reporting everything from this event, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace off.